In the meantime, let's go live to Bendigo. And the Nationals Senate leader, the Shadow Infrastructure and Transport Minister, Bridget McKenzie, joins me. Bridget McKenzie, thanks for your time. I want to pick up on some of the criticism from the Prime Minister there on the nuclear plans. In hindsight, would it have been better for the coalition to lean in more on this policy, to argue the case for it more assertively, rather than shy away from visiting the sites, for example, of the proposed nuclear plants?
Kieran, great to be with you here in Bendigo, where the National Party is taking it up to the Labor Party, and another seat that's been taken for granted by not just the local member, Lisa Chesters, but by the Labor Party more broadly. I don't agree with the premise of your question at all. Ted O'Brien, our Shadow Minister, has been to these sites. We've deeply engaged with the communities over the last couple of years on our plans for net zero nuclear, and I think Andrew's questions to the PM were verified and completely on point. What about what Tony Blair is actually saying? It's exactly what the IPCC has been saying, that the globe doesn't get to net zero without carbon capture and storage and without tripling our nuclear energy production. And we've got a backyard full of uranium. We want to keep manufacturing jobs here on shore, and that's why we've been the generation of MPs that have stood up and said, let's not stop throwing band-aids at this energy problem. Let's solve it once and for all. And that's why nuclear, I think, is a no-brainer. And as we move out in the communities that are actually going to be recipients of this great investment, they are looking forward to that and the potential opportunity, not just for themselves, but for intergenerational investment over time. So the PM's running another scare campaign, and I think what we heard, Kieran, is this guy can't tell the truth to the Australian people in order to win an election, and that's really sad.
He's again criticised the coalition campaign, says it's a shambles, leaving the costings to so late in the piece. We're talking about, after 2 o'clock this afternoon, it's going to be released on the second last day. Is that... I'm not saying the coalition's alone in this, of course. My history in politics goes back enough to see both sides of politics doing this a lot late in the piece. But should that approach change in your view?
Well, Kieran, we're going to release the costings. Angus and Jane will be standing up to do that. But I think what your commentary and those who are criticising our timing fail to recognise is we've announced savings all the way through this campaign. In my own portfolio, cancelling funding from the Commonwealth to Labor's failed $200 billion suburban rail loop. I mean, we've also announced significant savings right across the board, getting rid of the Rewiring the Nation fund, etc. So all through the campaign, we've announced our savings. That's going to come together with what's released today. My question would be, how much is the Labor Party's energy plan going to cost the Australian taxpayer? Because they've never come clean with that. They've never actually put the modelling down. What about their tax on family cars, utes, SUVs and four-wheel drives that comes into effect on the 1st of July this year, that's going to drive up the price of new cars that Australians love and need to drive? They haven't been upfront with the modelling on that and how much that's going to cost either. So I'm very confident that our bottom line's going to be better, that we're going to be taking a responsible approach to our budget, paying down the debt and deficit over time, as we always have to do, and that throughout this campaign we've outlined our spending priorities and we've also outlined multiple and many savings opportunities.
I'm going to talk polls in a moment with an analyst. I'm not going to ask you about the polls. I'm going to ask you about the mood on the ground in Bendigo, because as you said, you're taking on where you are as a Labor seat, or has been, with Lisa Chesters.
Yep.
What's your sense of not just Bendigo, but the Nationals elsewhere? Because while you're on the front foot there today, I've been told the last 24 hours that Cowper's not looking as good as you would like at the moment. So give us a sense of the Nationals. How are you holding up your end of the bargain in the coalition?
Well, we always run hyper-local campaigns with great local champions as our candidates, and our communities really respond to that. Here in Bendigo, we're taking on a seat with a 12% margin, but it's a seat that Labor's taken for granted for 27 years. And we've got a great local champion in Andrew Lethlean. We've had, great energy around the campaign and a lot of nods when we're out and about talking to locals about a time for change and needing change that they can trust. This is a seat that was a heavy no vote against Labor. This is the Victorian Premier's state seat as well. And we know that Labor at both a state and federal level has really turned its back on the people that live in communities like this. And so our messages, both as a coalition and as the National Party, have been resonating. Across the board in Calare, we're running hard in Bullwinkle in WA in a three-cornered contest with a former state opposition leader, Mia Davies. So as I've travelled around the country, and I think I've been to more than 39 seats now in capital cities and the regions, I think there's going to be a lot of surprises on Saturday night. People feel let down by Labor, and I think even the Prime Minister's commentary in the last hour on Sky has shown this guy can't tell the truth. He can't tell the truth about their record, and he's the master of deflection, just like a bad boyfriend.
I wouldn't know anything about that. Bridget McKenzie, great to chat. Thanks for your time throughout the term, and we'll catch you after the election. Whatever way it goes, we'll talk to you then. Thanks, Bridget McKenzie. Appreciate it.